Welcome to part 4 of this Blender tutorial series where we're creating the Tesla Cybertruck. If you haven't seen the previous parts, you can check out the tutorial playlist with the link in the video description. So in this part, we're going to be doing more miscellaneous modeling. So we're going to be modeling some details on the bottom of the truck. We're also going to be modeling like the wheel trims, also the mirrors, some little cameras which are on the Cybertruck, and the windshield wiper. Before we start this part, I wanted to let you know about a really great Blender add-on called Cut and Wrap. Cut and Wrap is a great Blender add-on for cutting out transparent images and adding decals. The cutout option is great for cutting out things like decals, icons, nature, and leaves. You can generate a cutout from a single image or bulk cut out multiple images at once. You can also control the subdivisions of your cutouts. The add-on can also automatically separate the islands and break up each part of the image into their own objects, speeding up your workflow. The add-on also has a really great shrink wrap option for adding decals. Simply select a part of the object from the shrink wrap settings and generate the cutout. You can then use the slide cutout option to move the decal on the surface of your object. You can find my full add-on review video with the link in the description, and if you purchase the add-on through my affiliate link, you'll be helping to support this channel. So we're going to start off by making the wheel trim. So there's basically like a trim piece which kind of comes up along the wheel and then goes along the bottom of the Cybertruck. So we'll center the 3D cursor and I'll go to the add menu and add a cube. In edit mode, we're going to bring the cube over and scale it down. And then on the modifiers, we can add a mirror modifier to mirror it over to the other side. Let's go to side view and we'll go to wireframe, and we need to open up the references here. Now this has happened a few times. I kind of realized I've done this a few times. So basically I will like hide some of the references by like clicking on the eye here, but then when I hit Alt H, it'll unhide the reference. So what I'm going to do is make a new collection. So I'll right click, new collection, and this one I'm going to call other references. And then this one I'm going to call main reference. So I'm going to drag the other references like right up here, and then maybe I'll make it just like a blue color because the references can be blue. So the hubcap I'll put in other references, and also the tire I'll put in the other references. So now we can just disable this collection so it's out of the way. So I'll select the object again, and let's bring it down, make the side panel smaller. So we'll go into edit mode, and I'm going to scale this down here, bring it down, scale it down, and then we'll scale it up along the y-axis. Go to the other side, bring this over just like that, and then we'll add a loop cut. So let's add a loop cut right there. Let's go to front view, and you can see it's way too far over here, so if I select everything, we'll just drag it right back right over there. And then if I press Control 7, that'll go to bottom view. It's a little bit hard to see, but if I kind of scale it down, bring it in, you can kind of see there it is. So I'll just stick it right there, scale up on the x-axis. And then if I box select here, I'll just bring it out a little bit so it's a bit longer. So now I'm going to add another loop cut. So let's add a loop cut right there. Let's go back to solid view. And actually in wireframe, I want to select the back loop here. And I want to double tap G and just edge slide it over. And then if we select these two, we'll double tap G and edge slide them forward like this. And then if we go to the face select and select this face, let's just scale this face along the X by 0 so it is flat. All right, so now I'm going to select this face here. And this face, I actually want to add a little kind of spot here, similar to this, where it kind of stops. So let's actually go to top view. So hit 7 for top view. Let's go into wireframe, and we'll go to the vertex select, and we'll select all the vertices right there on that side. And let's drag it back here. So just drag it over like this. So drag it pretty close so it's almost touching the car, but not quite. And then we can just extrude it in. So like that. All right, so now what we're going to do is go to the face select, and we'll select these two faces. We'll go to side view, and I'm going to extrude it up. Let's go to wireframe, just extrude up like that. Then we can extrude it up, and I want to bring it over, and we will rotate it, bring it right there. And if we just select the top, we'll bring the top down a bit, and then we will extrude out again. And let's scale it on the Y. And we'll just scale it over and then bring it over here, scale it on the Y like that. Then we'll extrude it down here, and then we can just rotate it, and then we will scale it on the Z axis by 0 to make sure it's flat, and just stick it down there. So there is the wheel trim. Let's go to side view, see how that's looking. So you can see it's not quite going up far enough. So let's go to wireframe, and you can see it's also kind of like going through the object. So what I want to do is bring it forward a bit. So what I'm going to do is go to wireframe, and I'm going to box select the spot at the very end here. So let's box select this, box select this. So basically select the part of the mesh which is inside the car. And now let's just bring it forward, or bring it out on the x-axis just like that. So we have that little kind of top lip right there. All right, and let's go over to the front and make sure that's looking good. Yeah, just like that, so we have a little top lip. Maybe we could box select the bottom part here and just bring it up slightly, just up like that. All right, that's pretty good. So we have the top lip going up over here, going down. Now right here, I do want to also be able to see the lip. So let's go to wireframe, and we need to go into edit mode. And we're going to box select this spot here, and we're just going to bring it out just like that, so you can actually see it. All right, let's compare it to the reference again. So maybe box select these and bring them up a little bit more. Maybe bring this up a little bit here. That's looking pretty good there. Let's go maybe to top view. It's a little bit hard to see with top view, but what I can do is just go back to object mode and select the wheels and just hide the wheel objects just to get them out of the way for now. All right, that is pretty close. And then back on side view. We could also maybe go to back view and see how that's looking. All right, so that's pretty good for the wheel trim on that side. Let's go over here to the very end, and I'm gonna do a pretty similar thing on the back here. Now, since it's pretty similar, I can just use a mirror modifier and mirror it over. So in edit mode, we're going to box select the end here and drag it back, and then we'll delete the faces to delete those extra faces so they don't merge with the mirror. And then let's turn on the y-axis. So it's going back and forth on the y-axis, which is what we want. So now let's just apply the mirror modifier. But now it's applied it for the other side as well. So in edit mode, we're just going to select this side, and we're just going to delete it. That side's deleted. And now we'll just add another mirror modifier. So it'll mirror it back over here on the other side of the car. So now in edit mode, I'm just going to box select these two spots here, which we need to connect, and I'll scale them on the y-axis by 0, and then we can merge by distance. So merge them together, and then we'll just hit X, and we're just going to dissolve edges. So now we're going to go into wireframe. We're just going to box select the end, and we can just drag the end back just like that. And we will need to probably adjust things a little bit, but actually that is pretty close. Let's go to side view, and we'll go to wireframe. We'll drag this back there. And then if we box select this here, we'll drag that over to fit the reference. Box select the entire thing and drag it over. And then this one, we could drag up a bit. That is pretty close. That's pretty close as well. Just move that over there to fit the reference. And then here, we'll scale this on the z-axis by 0, drag it up, maybe make it a little bit smaller. And then we can extrude it down, just like that. All right, zoom out, and that's looking good. And also just make sure the wheel trim looks good, so it looks good all the way around there. And right there. So the wheel trim is looking good. So let's add the same modifiers that we've added to the other object. So what I can do is just select this object. So select the trim, and then shift select one of these other objects, which has like the bevel and weight to normal. We'll click on the drop down, and we're just going to copy to selected, then select the weight to normal, click on the drop down, and choose copy to selected. So now if we click on the wheel trim, you can see it has the bevel and the weight to normal. However, on the bevel, I'm going to click on the limit method, and I'm going to turn it to none. And this way it's always going to add a bevel to any of the corners. Now, before I finish with the modeling of this object, I want to add a little camera, because on the Tesla Cybertruck, there actually is a little camera right here. So let's just add where that camera is going to be. So I'll go into edit mode, and I'll use the knife tool and just click here and hit enter. So basically where this camera is going to be on the front one, but it's going to be kind of on the back part here of the front one. So let's now go to side view, and we'll go into wireframe. And if it isn't placed exactly where you want, just double tap G for the edge slide. And we now have a nice little triangle. So I'm going to go to the face select, and I'm going to select that face where the triangle is, and I'm going to extrude it and then scale it way down, and we'll type 0 and enter, and then we'll merge, and we're going to merge by distance. So it removed 2 vertices, so we can select that vertex there and just drag it back. So this is going to be a little kind of inset area where the camera's going to be. Now we are going to be adding a little camera, but we're going to be doing that later in this video. So let's now model some parts underneath the Cybertruck. So I'll just hit Alt-H to unhide everything, and let's center the 3D cursor, and we're going to add a cube. In edit mode, we're going to scale the cube down, and then in object mode, we'll drag it down here, and let's just scale it down even more. So just make it kind of small and bring it down. And we're going to make it slightly smaller than that wheel trim piece. So then let's add a loop cut right here, and we will select the side, the half side, and we'll delete the vertices, and then we will add a mirror modifier to the object so it's mirrored to the other side, and we'll turn on clipping. So let's go to the face select, we'll select this face here, and we're going to bring the face really close to the end of the wheel trim, just like that. Then we're going to add a loop cut right here, and we're going to drag the loop cut to this side. Then if we go back to the face select, we'll select this face, and we're going to extrude this out here pretty close to the end, and then extrude it all the way to the very end. So just stick it right there, and then we'll go to the edge select. We're going to select this edge, and we're going to bring this edge up on the z-axis like that. So it kind of just goes up. Now, this isn't like super accurate to the real Tesla Cybertruck. It was really hard to find any reference images of the bottom of the Cybertruck because, you know, who's going to like take photos underneath the Cybertruck? It's really hard sometimes to find little tiny details like this. Now, I did find a video on YouTube where they actually like jack up the Cybertruck and take a look at the bottom of it, but it is very detailed. It would take so long to make a big tutorial series where I model all the details on the bottom, and most of you guys probably don't even want to do that. I don't really want to do that because you're not going to be able to see it in the final render. So I am just going with a very simple basic bottom. So this isn't actually what the underbelly of the Cybertruck looks like. Now, as well as mirroring it over on the x-axis, we can mirror over on the y-axis. So let's go to wireframe. We'll choose the y-axis here on the mirror, and then we'll box select this side and we'll drag the side back. So drag it into the mirror, and then we want to delete faces. So those faces, those extra faces are deleted. Now you can see it's a little bit too far, so we can just click on the drop down and apply the mirror, and then we'll go into edit mode. We're going to box select the end here in wireframe, and we can just drag it back just to fit the end of the truck. So just like that. And then let's add the same modifiers. So we're going to select this object and then shift select the trim. We'll go down to the bevel and click on the arrow and copy to selected. Then do the same thing for the weight to normal. So click on the drop down arrow and copy to selected so that this bottom object here has the bevel and weight to normal. Now what I also want to do is model like a metal plating with like some bolts. So I'll go to the add menu. We'll add a new plane. In edit mode, I'm going to bring the plane down, scale it down, and we will apply the scale. In edit mode, let's just bring it up. We're going to bring it up just right there to the very top, and then we're going to scale it down a little bit, and we'll bring it up just a little bit higher so it's about the same height as that wheel trim. Scale it in on the x-axis. So now we're going to add a loop cut in the middle. We're going to select this side and delete vertices. Just like the other objects, we're going to add a mirror modifier, and we'll turn on clipping so it merges with the mirror. So now what I want to do is hit Control-7 to go to bottom view, and we'll go to wireframe, and there is that metal piece. So I'm going to drag this down, and then if I box select the top here, drag that down. So now I want to add some loop cuts where those little bolts are going to be. So we'll add a loop cut right there. We'll add another loop cut right there, and then another loop cut right there, and then we need to add one more loop here, which is really close to the center. All right, let's go back to solid view. So we'll select everything, and we're going to extrude everything up so it has some thickness. And I think if I select everything, I might just bring it down on the z-axis so it's slightly bigger. So now what I want to do is go to the face select, and we're just going to select these faces here. So these two big faces, and we're going to extrude them down just like that. So now if we select everything, we can bring everything up just a little bit like that. So let's go back to bottom view. And you can see right here, this one looks a little bit shorter than this one. So I'm actually going to go into wireframe and deselect everything and just box select this piece here and drag it over a little bit because it seemed like it wasn't quite even. So even though the reference images from the previous Cybertruck that I made, I think they're a little bit off. So I'm just going to go like that. All right, that's good. And then we want to copy the same modifiers. So we'll select the metal piece and then shift select the trim. And on the bevel, we will copy to selected. And on the weight to normal, we will copy to selected. All right, that's good. And for this object, we probably don't really need the weight to normal. I can actually just delete it because it's not really affecting this object because everything is pretty flat and straight. So now I want to create those little bolts. So let's center the 3D cursor. We're going to add a completely new object, and I'm going to add a cylinder. And on the add cylinder settings, let's turn the vertices to like a 14. And then we'll go to bottom view, we'll go into edit mode, we'll go to wireframe, and we'll scale it way down so it's pretty small and just bring it right over there. Actually, I want to bring it back. We'll go back to object mode, and in object mode, I want to drag it over, and that way the origin point will be more in the center. So in edit mode, I can scale it down. Let's go to side view. We'll go back to object mode, and I'll just drag it way down here. So we'll go back to solid view. We'll look down here on the bottom and just make sure it's popping out just a little bit. And then if we go into edit mode and go to wireframe, we'll go to the face select and select the top face, and we can just delete the faces because we don't actually need that little face there. So now what I want to do is mirror it over to the other side. So we're going to add the mirror modifier. We'll go into edit mode, select everything and move it over. So we're going to mirror it over on this side. We'll duplicate it again and put one on this side, and then duplicate it again and put one in the middle. However, with the one in the middle, it's going to merge together. So what we want to do is go into wireframe, go to the vertex select. We want to box select just half of it, so just box select this side and delete the vertices. Box select everything now, and we can turn on the clipping, and we can move it into the center so it merges with the mirror, and then drag back. And then if we select this entire loop, we'll fill the faces there. And then select everything, actually just select this bolt and move it in slightly. All right, so Now we can hit Control 7 to go to bottom view. And I also want to add a bevel modifier. Let's zoom in really close to it. And on the bevel, I want to turn the amount down. And then I want to turn the segments up to like a 2. All right, we will shade the object smooth. Then we'll add the weight to normal modifier to kind of flatten that flat face there. And then I want to array it and array it down. So let's click on these arrows here to minimize the modifiers. And I'm going to search for the array modifier. So let's go into wireframe so we can see the reference image. And on the array modifier, I want to turn the Y down, but I want to turn the X to 0. So we'll turn the Y down just like this, and we're just going to make it about that far where it is with the reference, and then we can just turn up the count, and we'll just have the count go all the way down to the very end. So it looks like for mine there's going to be 9 of them, and then you can drag the factor if it's going too far, so just like that. So there we go, we have all those little bolts there on the bottom. It just gives the bottom a little bit more detail, and I might move the entire object up a little bit so they're a bit smaller. So let's now model the mirrors. So I'll center the 3D cursor, and we're going to add a new cube, and I'll go to top view, I'll go to wireframe, and I'll bring this over into the center. We'll go into edit mode and I'll move it over and we'll scale it way down, and then we'll move it over here. Let's scale it up along the y-axis, and we want to just box select now this side, the outer side, and rotate it and move it in, and then extrude it, rotate it, move it over, scale it down a little bit, and extrude it, rotate it, scale it down a little bit, just like that. Let's go to front view. We'll select everything. Actually, we'll go back to object mode and move it up, and then we'll go into edit mode, bring it down. And if we box select the bottom, we'll scale it on the z-axis by 0 to make sure it's flat. We'll then box select the top, and we'll scale it along the z-axis by 0 so it's flat, and then drag that down. All right, so now we need to model the actual mirror piece. So I'll add a new object, so I'll go to the add menu, we'll add a cube in the very center of the scene, we'll bring it up, we'll go into edit mode, we'll scale it down and move it over, and then we can add a mirror modifier, and since the origin point was in the very center, it's going to mirror to the other side. So let's just scale it down, we'll stick it right here, we'll go to top view, and in object mode, we will move it right over, and then go back into edit mode. So we're going to rotate it and scale it up, and then we'll box select this here, the outer side, and bring it in, bring that in there. All right, so let's box select everything and we'll extrude it, and we'll just bring that in there, and then box select everything, extrude it again, bring this in, and extrude it again, and extrude it one more time, and then we can just bring these in here. And it looks like if we select everything, we want to maybe rotate it a little bit. So let's navigate to the side. We'll actually go to front view, and I'll go to wireframe, and I want to select everything and move it up a bit. And it looks like this is not going quite far enough, but if I look at the top reference, it is going far enough. So there's, kind of a very small slight difference. I'm going to stay with the top reference, at least for now, because it looks like the top reference is okay. It is a little bit close. So maybe what I could do is just scale it up just a little bit and move it out just a little bit so it's a bit closer to the bottom reference or the front reference. So now let's box select the top and bring it up. And I want to shear this so it rotates over. So you can hit F3. You can search for shear or just use it here if it's one that you recently used. So I'll click shear. And then what I want to do is hit Y. If I hit Y, now you can see I can kind of shear it. So I'll just move that up like that, and then we'll bring it down here. Hit F3 again, we'll shear it again on the Y, bring it down. All right. And then if you need to, you can kind of manually move anything if you want to. Bring this up a little bit. So I want to add another loop cut right here in the center. So we'll add a loop cut and drag it down, and then we can drag it up, and that way it is nice and flat. So just like that. Then we're going to select these two vertices, and we'll just add a small bevel to it. Now if we go to side view and go to wireframe, you can see it kind of curves over. So what we're going to do is select these loops here, and we'll double tap G to edge slide, and just double tap G to edge slide all of these in. So maybe bring that down like that, so it's more of a triangle shape. Let's now go to top view, and we just want to select these and kind of move them because they're not quite as straight as I'd like them to be. So we're just going to move these a bit back. Let's also go here to the end, and if I select these two vertices, we'll edge slide them down, and then we'll select everything, and we're going to merge by distance. So now I want to add some bevels, so I'll select this loop here, and we will add a bevel to it, and I'll scroll my mouse wheel so there's a few cuts to the bevel like that, so it's a bit more smooth. Then we'll go over to this side, we'll select this loop, but then I want to deselect this vertex, so it just goes here and then down. And I'm going to add another bevel right here, just to bevel that out so that is smooth. Let's navigate to the front or the back, wherever you're going to see it. We'll go to the face select, and we're just going to select all of these faces here, and we're going to inset the faces. We'll hit the I key twice if it's individually insetting them. We want to inset them all together, and then we'll extrude them all back just a little bit. Let's now add the bevel modifier. We're going to turn the amount down, and we'll turn the segments up to a 2. We're going to shade the object smooth, and then let's add the weighted normal. And I'm actually going to select these vertices here and just bring them down slightly so they're a little bit more smooth. Now if I go back to object mode and select this object here, we'll go into edit mode, we'll select the face and just extrude the face in there into the mirror. And then with this object here, I also want to add a subdivision surface, so I'll hit Ctrl 2 to add a subsurf modifier. And I think in edit mode, we need to bring it down slightly, and maybe we can tilt it just slightly like that. We can also maybe make it a little bit thicker. And then if I go inside here, I want to select the face and delete that face. And also inside here, we'll select that face and delete the face so that the end is really sharp. And then we'll shade it smooth. Now in edit mode, I also want to add a loop cut. So we'll just add a loop cut right there and another loop cut right there. And another loop cut right there on the bottom, and then over here on this side. So that way that this piece is just a bit more sharp on the edges. And I also forgot to add a mirror to this object. So with this object selected, we're going to add the mirror modifier so it mirrors over to the other side. All right, save the project again, and now we're going to be modeling the windshield wiper. So I'm going to go to top view. Let's just drag open the outliner, and it looks like we have some extra objects here that we want to put into the Cybertruck collection. All right, now what I'm going to do is hide the main references, and here on the other references, I'm going to turn this on, and then what I want to do is add in a new reference. So I'm going to drag in the windshield wiper reference, and I'll hit Alt-G to clear the location. I can also rotate it by 90 degrees. And then what I also want to do is hide the Cybertruck. We're going to hide the wheels and the hubcaps. Now let's put the empty here into the other references. Let's go to the add menu. We're going to add a cube. In edit mode, we're going to scale the cube way down. So this is pretty simple modeling. We're just going to scale it down to the shape of the windshield wiper, and then we'll box select the bottom. We're going to bring it down, stick it right in there. And then here on the front, we're going to duplicate this face. We'll scale the face down, stick it in here, and then we're going to extrude it way out. Just like that, so extrude it really far. Now if I go back to solid view, let's take a look at this, and I want to select everything and scale it down a bit on the Z-axis so it's a little bit more flat and thin. And then if I go to the face select, we'll use L to select the linked vertices, and we're going to scale this up on the Z-axis. So scale up on the Z so it's a little bit more thick. That's pretty good. We'll go to top view again, go to wireframe, and back in edit mode, we want to add some other objects here, and we'll zoom in here to kind of the base of it, and I'm going to box select these vertices. We'll duplicate it. We're going to scale this up, and we're going to extrude it forward, and then we're going to extrude it and then scale it on the X, and extrude it and scale it on the X, and extrude it and scale it on the X. So it kind of rotates around. So let's now go here to the very bottom. We're going to select this piece and duplicate it and move it down. Then we're going to extrude this part down. We'll select this side and bring this down. And then we'll select everything and extrude it over and rotate it and just stick it there. So now what I want to do is add some loop cuts here. So we'll add like 3 loop cuts. We'll box select the loops and bring them forward. And then box select the loop and bring it forward. All right, just like that. So now if we box select everything, we'll extrude it down again, just like that to fit the reference. Now we need to connect these. So I'm going to box select these vertices, duplicate it. We'll scale it down a little bit and then extrude it forward. All right, like that. Now if we go inside here, we can delete those faces because we don't need the faces in there. We can go to the face select and delete that face because we don't actually need that face. And it looks like if we select everything, we need to recalculate the normals. So then with the windshield wiper, this piece actually goes down. So let's select the vertices or go to the vertex select. We're going to select these vertices at the very end and bring those down on the Z-axis so it kind of curves down. And then right down here, let's actually place the 3D cursor right here. And we are going to add a cylinder. And on the add cylinder settings, I'm going to hit the backspace just to reset it to the default of 32 vertices. And we'll scale it way down and just scale it down on the Z-axis and bring it down. We'll go to the face select this face, and we'll bring it up. And then we're going to extrude it and scale it and extrude it down like that. So again, we're going to do the same modifiers. So we're going to add the bevel modifier, segments of 2, turn the amount down, we'll shade it smooth, and then just like the other objects, add a weighted normal. So let's just now click here to show the hubcaps, the wheels, the Cybertruck, and the main references, but the other references, we're going to just hide that. And it looks like the other references had this object in it. So if we just go to wireframe and let's just select the windshield wiper, what we want to do is hit M to move, put it in the Cybertruck collection, and then we can hide the other references. So let's go to top view, we'll go to wireframe, and we're going to scale it way down. And it's a little bit hard to see because of the wheels, so if we select the wheel objects, we can just hide them for now. So we'll bring this over, scale it down, and rotate it, and just stick it there. I think it's pretty cool that the Cybertruck has like one giant windshield wiper. A lot of cars have like two smaller ones, but it just has one giant windshield wiper. So, all right, let's stick it right there. And then we are going to need to rotate it over sideways. So if we go to side view, we want to bring it way down and then rotate it up. All right, so let's just stick it right there. Maybe scale it up a little bit more. All right, let's zoom into the spot where it connects to the car and just bring it down a little bit. It looks a little bit small, so I might just scale it up a little bit. Let's go back up to the top, bring it over like that. So it's pretty close to the reference. So now I'm just gonna kind of manually move it and just place it to where it looks good, because the references are very, very slightly off. And if I go into edit mode, I think this is a little bit too long. So I'll go to wireframe, just box select the very end here, and we can double tap G just to edge slide it back down. All right, so there is the windshield wiper. So let's unhide everything. And the last thing that I want to do in this part is we want to add a little tiny camera there. And then we also want to add a little camera here on the back, so a rear camera. So let's go to the add menu, and we're going to add a cylinder. And right behind me on the add cylinder settings, I'll keep it kind of higher poly, so 32, and let's bring it up. Let's go into edit mode. We're going to scale it way down so it's pretty small, and then we'll go to wireframe. We're going to box select the top. We're going to extrude the top up and scale it down a bit. We'll go to top view, and we will extrude it and then scale it in, and let's hit 5 on the numpad to go to orthographic view so I can zoom in close, and I'll extrude it again and scale it down. And then if I go to the face select the faces here, let's extrude it down like that. So we'll go to the face select again and inset the faces, and then we will extrude it down again like that, and then we'll extrude it and scale it, or you can inset it, just make it a bit smaller, and then finally extrude it down again. So then we're also going to add a bevel modifier, and let's turn the amount way down so it's pretty small. So maybe just like a 0.5. So I'm going to turn the segments up to 2. We're going to shade it smooth. Then we can add the weighted normal. All right, so that's good for just that little camera. Let's also scale it down a little bit so it's just a bit more flat. And then also I do want to add kind of a circular piece for where the camera is. So let's place the 3D cursor right here, and we can use Shift S, and we're going to go to cursor to selected. So the cursor's in the center there. And then in edit mode, we can add a UV sphere, and we're going to scale the UV sphere way down and make it quite small, just like that. Actually, we can make it a bit bigger and then bring it down. We're just going to stick it right in the center where the camera is. So this is basically like the camera lens. So now what we can do is go to side view, and we're going to use the box select to deselect everything else. So just select the bottom, and we could just delete the vertices. All right, so now if we select this piece, let's just scale it down a little bit and bring it down. So there we go, we have the lens for the camera. So now let's bring it down here. We'll bring it over, and we can just bring it down right here. Now we're going to want to add a mirror modifier to this, but I'll do that after. So we're just going to scale this down and just place it right in here. So double tap R for the trackball rotation. We're just going to stick it right down there in that corner, and it's going to point backwards. So once you placed it where you want, we can just add a mirror modifier. Now it's not going to mirror back and forth because the origin point is in the center there. So what we can do is go down here to the mirror. So scroll down, and we're going to choose the mirror object, and we're just going to choose one of these objects. So I'm just going to choose the body object. So now you can see right over there, it's on the other side. All right, so we'll select this object, the little camera. We're going to duplicate it and move it way over here. Let's move it into the center. We could also just hit Alt-G to clear the location so it's in the center, and then move it over and bring it up. And for this one, which is going to be in the center, we actually want to delete the mirror. So let's go to back view. So hit Control-1 for back view, and I'll double tap the R key to trackball rotate it like that. We'll just stick it there. We'll zoom into it, and then we want to bring it back right there where the tailgate is. So let's go to back view. We'll go to wireframe, and there it is. So we'll bring it down. Now it looks like it was slightly offset, so I'm just going to scale this down and keep it there in the very center. So now I want to create a triangle piece. So to do that, we're going to add a cube. Let's go to solid view. I'm going to bring the cube over and bring the cube down and scale the cube way down. Just stick it right in there, make it really small. We'll zoom into it. I'll hit 5 to go to orthographic view so we can zoom in really close. And in edit mode, I'm going to make it smaller. Also, since we scaled it way down, let's just apply the object scale. And then It looks like I need to recalculate the normals. I must have accidentally flipped the object. So we'll go to the face select the top face, we'll make it really small so it's like a triangle shape. We'll select the bottom face and make it larger. Alright, so let's scale the entire thing up. We'll bring it over and we'll rotate it on the x-axis, just like that. Bring it in and bring it up. And let's select the camera and bring the camera in. And then if we go to side view, in wireframe, we're gonna rotate the camera down, just like that. All right, so then we have just that little piece there. We could also maybe select everything and bring it down and scale it down a little bit. So what we wanna do is select the triangle, shift select the camera, and Control L, and we're gonna copy the modifiers. So it has the same modifiers. So now we have that little tiny camera piece, and I think this piece could maybe be even a little bit smaller. And maybe we can select this piece and bring it back just a little bit. So just hit Control S to save, and that's going to wrap up this part of the tutorial series. So the Cybertruck is really coming together. And in the next part, we're going to be doing some interior modeling. So we'll be modeling like the basic cup holder. We're also going to model like a ground object and a wall object, and we'll model the seats and the steering wheel and the dashboard. So when the next part is released, it'll be linked down there in the video description, and I'll also have it right up here on the end screen. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next part.